This is the Wisdom Podcast.
This is episode 5 of the Wisdom Podcast. We've had some great guests thus far, and if you haven't gone and listened to some of the guests, please go check it out. You can listen to His Holiness the Kumapa, which was an amazing interview for me, just to meet with the Kumapa and hear what he had to say about some of the issues that are facing us in the West and on the globe. So that was an amazing interview. We also had Elijah Ari. He's the first Western Gulug Tuku, so recognized as a Tibetan master. So that was fascinating to hear his story. Then after Elijah, I interviewed the great Pali translator, Bhikkhu Bodhi. After Bhikkhu Bodhi, we had David Loy, and David Loy is at the forefront of interfacing Buddhist wisdom with modern issues. So go check those episodes out. In this episode, I interviewed Jamyang Rinchen. Jamyang's the Dalai Lama's Chinese translator, and he's actually a close friend. And so when I was in India, I was staying with Jamyang, and I had the opportunity to record this podcast. Jamyang's had a fascinating life. He was actually dropped off by his parents at the Dalai Lama's temple when he was very young, and his parents asked the Dalai Lama to raise him. So he was raised as a monk alongside the monks in the Dalai Lama's temple. And so he tells us a little bit about what that was like. He went on to become a great scholar in Tibetan Buddhism, and he also then went to Harvard and earned his PhD. So now he spends his time traveling in the Dalai Lama's entourage, translating the Dalai Lama's teachings into Chinese for, as you can imagine, a massive audience. And he's just got some great stories to tell. We'll hear about what it's like with the Dalai Lama backstage, what it's like to travel with the Dalai Lama on an aeroplane. What does the Dalai Lama do on an aeroplane? I hope you like this interview. And we actually he had so many stories, and we've got a lot of recordings, so we've decided to make 2 episodes. They're both equally fascinating. So today's the first one, and then next episode we'll hear from Jamyang again. I hope you enjoy. Thank you, Jamyang, for joining us on the Wisdom Podcast. It's an honor to have you here today.
Thank you.
I wanted to start at the beginning, and I wanted you to tell us a little bit about how you came to be at His Holiness the Dalai Lama's monastery here in Dharamsala.
I grew up in a Buddhist family. My parents are strong Buddhists, Chinese Buddhists. And when I was young, they knew a monk who came to Dharamsala and learned from Geshe Lobsang Gyaltso, the late director of Institute of Buddhist Dialectics. And they made the monk tell them about the Dharamsala when I was 6th grade, I think.
The monk told your parents about Dharamsala.
Yes, exactly.
And the Dalai Lama here and the teachers.
Yes. But before that, when I was 6th grade, my parents are strong Chinese Buddhists rather than Tibetan Buddhists. When I was about 4th grade, I think, and one day my mom went to a monastery and stayed there for a short retreat, 7 days. And my mom came back, said to me that if me and my brother and me can be vegetarian, it's good.
How old were you then?
I think that time I was 10.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 years old. 10 years old. 4th grade or 5th grade, somewhere between them. And then because when I was young, I didn't really like to eat meats, except chicken, except the McDonald's, Nuggets, exactly. I don't know. I don't want to do the advertisement for the McDonald's, but just like nuggets. I don't know why. And then I said to my parents that, okay, I will try. But the next day when I went to school, one of my classmates celebrating his own birthday and gave us everyone nugget. And I got one too. And I thought, oh, I just said to my mom that I'm not going to eat. I will try. How can I break the vow on the first day? I shouldn't do it. And then I said, yeah, you just give out the one nugget. I don't need it. Mm-hmm. I think because this is the biggest obstacle, and then I really overcome these obstacles. So that's why since then I became vegetarian. Mm-hmm. I don't eat meat. Somehow in Buddhist perspective, probably I reduce some my sins, let's say, or obstacles. Yeah. And one day, all of a sudden, when I was watching TV, like serious drama, I think it's about love, I think. Yeah. I don't know why, within 30 minutes, a voice inside of my heart said to me that, oh, you have to become monk, you have to become monk, you have to become monk. Very strong. Yeah. And it almost forced me to say it, split from my mouth. Wow. And then I really said it to my parents that I want to become monk. My parents were so happy. Wow. They were so happy. And then since then they kept on looking those Chinese monasteries, which monastery fit my personality, because I cannot really literally sit on a chair for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're a very active child.
Very
and this
naughty.
This voice that came to you
just came to me.
And your parents hadn't asked you or suggested you?
No, never.
Wow. And then you think that having become vegetarian for some time, helped that.
I believe somehow it become one of the conditions.
One of the conditions.
Yeah, and then connected to this kind of a result.
And do you think that voice is? What do you think that voice is? Do you think it's some sort of like past life influence, or just what do you think that voice was?
This voice is like the same nature of the voice that when you get hungry. Yeah. A voice tell me that you want to eat, right?
Yeah.
It's just like the nature, but without precondition.
Natural impulse.
Natural impulse, let's say.
Yeah, and no precondition of
no hunger. Precondition. Because, exactly. Yeah. When you hunger, there's a precondition.
Yes.
Generating this kind of voice, right?
Yeah. What is the precondition for becoming a monk? Renunciation, maybe.
Renunciation, exactly. However, because of the voice. But the funny thing is that after I said it to my parents, I totally forgot this.
Oh, wow. So you don't remember this?
No, I mean, I don't really keep thinking that I want to become monk.
Yes.
I totally forget the aspiration to be renunciated, you know. Yeah. Anyway, and then my parents kept on looking those Chinese monasteries, and at the end, eventually they met the monk, and then the new Dharamsala, the new Dharamsala, and my father, that time the monk found another boy called Ngawang, and he was looking for the other boy because late director of Institute of Buddhist Dialectics, Lobsang Gyatso, told him that you should bring 2 boys to Dharamsala.
He just come up. Why did he say that?
Because the monk was too old that time, so Lobsang Gyatso told him that it's too old for you to learn Tibetan. You better to bring 2 boys, young boys, to Dharamsala. And then that time the monk found another boy called Ngawang, and he was looking for the other boy. And then my parents liked him very much, and then my father brought both of us came here. So we were the first team coming from Taiwan to learn Tibetan Buddhism in Dharamsala.
Wow, and that monk was looking... So that monk wanted to go train at the Dalai Lama's monastery.
Yes.
And the abbot there... Is it abbot?
We call director.
Director.
Because Institute of Buddhist Dialectics is more like institution rather than monastery.
Right.
Yeah. But monastic institution.
Yeah.
The proper way to say it.
The monastic institution.
Yeah.
Right. Seni Lobja, right?
Yeah, Seni Lobja.
the Buddhist Dialectics Institute.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so the director, this monk came to the director
Right.
to want to study and I guess bring the teachings back to Taiwan, or
Yes,
what was
because
his
the
motivation?
monk was very interested in great stages Lamrim. Jezongaba was written by Jezongaba. But because the translation is almost like direct translation. So even it's translated into Chinese, but he couldn't understand at all because basically copy all the grammar, Tibetan grammar into Chinese. But Tibetan grammar and Chinese grammar are different, right?
Yeah.
Different system. So he really wanted to know, but he just didn't know how to interpret the great stages translated into Chinese. That's why he came here.
And then it was decided that it'd be better if they got some younger boys
Yes.
to start studying. And
Yes, it was suggested by the late director of IBD, Institute of Buddhist Dialectics, Lobsang Gyaltso. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, great.
And that's why we came here. We came.
How old were you?
Yeah, that time I was 12.
12. Wow.
Yeah.
What were you thinking when you were when you arrived in Dharamsala? What are your memories?
My mom was quite worried about my life here because I grew up in kind of rich family. So I didn't really have problems like living problems or lacking like living conditions problem, those kind of things. So when I came here, because the living facilities are so poor,
Yes.
and then my mom a little bit worried about that. If I really say something or I complain, even a word,
Yeah.
not a sentence, even a word, I think my mom will let me back
Yeah.
to Taiwan immediately. But I didn't, because I grew up in a well-facilitated living area.
Yeah.
So when I came here, I feel it's like total different place. I was kind of curious and interested in living this kind of
Different life.
different life. Exactly. I have to bring my clothes to the river. I have to wash them myself. In Taiwan, I couldn't even know how to use washing machine.
Did you feel like a bit of independence?
Independence, I don't really care, but
Yeah.
I feel it's total different life. I really enjoy it very much, and even though every day we eat the same potato, same cabbage.
What were you eating at home normally?
Oh,
Probably
different
delicious
vegetables.
meals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
Quite a
funny. Yeah.
change.
But I didn't really feel like to complain.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I just really enjoyed here.
So
I still remember, in Taiwan, I didn't really have problem with, no money, no pocket money.
yeah.
But in here, because my parents, especially my father, worry me that I'm going to spend all the money he left for me, and then he asked a senior monk to keep those money for me. So I feel like embarrassed to get money from him. I don't want to tell him that please give me money, And then I try to save money. I started thinking to save money. That never happened. That has never happened when I was in Taiwan. And then I still remember that time I want to buy candy, I think. That candy cost me like half rupee. Even for the half rupee, I was searching whole the mattress and bed and underneath, looking around everywhere. Yeah. But I really enjoyed the life here, I don't know. And first when we were young, our Genla treated us as special.
So tell us firstly about meeting. You felt like you had a teacher there and meeting the monks, the other monks. What was that like did you feel connected with people or with a teacher? How did you become part of this?
I become part of this because I love to play crane boat.
Oh yeah.
It's like
Explain crane
snooker, playing crane boat.
boat. Yeah.
I didn't see it in America, I don't
It's
know.
not- it's
Yeah,
not.
but in India we have a lot of crane boat, right?
Yeah.
And I love to play table tennis. And that's how I get into this society.
Yeah. Describe crane board for everyone, because they won't know what it is.
It's like a snooker, but you can play with the 2 people or 4 people.
Yeah.
If you want to play crumpled with 4 people, that means 2 people working as a group.
Yeah.
So, we have red stone. It's like stone, or you can make by wood. And then we have 9 white balls and 9 black balls. Then we use our finger. There's a bigger ball. We use that ball to hit white or black one and let them into the hole. Yeah, it's like snookers.
Yeah,
or
with your fingers.
Right, but with my fingers, not stick. Yeah.
And you were good at this?
Oh, I think I'm good at this.
So then,
I was, but not now.
yeah. So that got you connecting with the other young monks.
Exactly, and I think my verbal Tibetan, oral Tibetan, or colloquial Tibetan is learned by playing these kind of
I
things.
was gonna ask you because when you came here, everyone spoke Tibetan.
Yeah.
You didn't speak Tibetan.
No, I don't.
How long did it take you?
Because that time I was young, and my teammate also, he was young too. So both of us, we can pick up the language very quickly. So we didn't really have a much problem of this. Yeah. And we were asked to memorize a lot of texts because that time we were young. So we didn't really have problem to memorize those texts.
Do you still remember some of those texts?
Yeah, sometimes, but not the whole. A certain verses. Yeah, I can still recite. Yeah.
And then you met Gen Lobsang?
Lobsang Gyaltso, yes. Gen Lobsang Gyaltso really, he really looked after me very well, and he always, occasionally he come to my place and ask me what do I need. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
And that time, every month I think he's always sent some candies and chocolates through his assistant to us.
To you?
Yeah. Both
to
of
the
us.
new Taiwan monks.
Yes. Yeah.
So His Holiness Dalai Lama send you special candies.
Like chocolates. Because
yeah.
his own doesn't eat chocolates or candies,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But he sometimes get those candies and chocolates as offering from other people, and then he will send his assistant to deliver those candies and chocolates to us.
You felt like especially cared for.
I think it has a purpose.
Yeah.
When I was young, because that time in Tibetan society, they don't get along with Taiwanese government, until His Holiness first visit in Taiwan.
Yeah.
So not every schoolmate likes us. So very few of them didn't like us.
Yeah.
That's why Genla protected me. And also, I don't know, somehow one day His Holiness sent his assistant to bring those chocolates and candies to me, and a lot of people saw it. And that time, I'm kind of naive. I thought that whatever given by His Holiness people might consider they are blessing candies rather than regular candies. Yeah. So I will really give them, not to show off that, I have this candy by His Holiness, but just simply want to give them as a blessing candies. Yeah. And then a Rinpoche told me that, do you get this every month? I have heard that you get this every month. I said almost every month.
How old was this Rinpoche? He's an older boy?
No.
Or young Tubo?
That time he's 23 or 20. Yeah. And then he said, do you get this every month? I have heard that you get this every month. Do you get this every month? I said almost every month. Then he told me that today, let's say it's 25th. Yeah. I will check on the next month, 25th, whether you will get it or not. If you don't get it, let's see.
Wow.
Yeah. So
what was the point? What was the point of this?
I think he want to, I don't know. He just dislikes me, I think. That's the only reason. So I think His Holiness, the deliverance for His Holiness probably has some purpose when I look back about the previous, what we happened before. Yeah.
Was that your first memory of His Holiness Dalai Lama?
Oh, no.
No.
The first memory about him is that after I came here, 3 months later, my parents came to see me, and the old monk, the Chinese monk, came to see us, and also Ngawang Dashi's parents, they came to see us. So that time we went to see His Holiness. And that time I could speak a little bit Tibetan. I tried to translate, let's say July 13, I say 13 months of 7 rather than July 13, yeah. And then His Holiness was laughing so badly about my poor Tibetan. Yeah.
Little did you know you would one day become His Holiness's Chinese
That I don't
translator.
I don't know.
And what did you become? So you were a monk at
That time, yes,
So
I was monk.
When did you become a monk? What?
When I was 12.
So as soon as you got here, they ordained
Before
you?
we came to India, we went to Nepal. So I became monk in Nepal.
Who ordained you?
Not really ordained, but just
cut
cut
your
my
hair.
hair,
Yeah.
and put the monk robe on me.
Yeah.
Sakya Chari Rinpoche.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sakya.
Yeah, we were in Nepal for a month and then we came here.
Wonderful.
The same year when His Holiness get Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh.
Yeah,
Great.
but few months before
Yeah.
we came here in 1989. Yeah,
1989.
yeah. And then first, Genlo San Gyatso treat us really special because we were young and we came from Taiwan, and the living facilities are not good here. So that's why he treat us special. We don't need to go to, we call tabre. Tabre means spread those breads
Yeah.
and bring the tea to everyone's room and pour the tea for them.
You didn't have to run around at puja and.
Right, I don't have to. But puja, yes, I have to
Oh,
go.
you had to, okay.
Yeah, but not those kind of
Duties.
duties. Yes, exactly. And I don't need to. That time, I didn't need to make tofu. Otherwise, making tofu is required because we have no enough money to support our lives here. We have to make peanut butter. We have to make tofu. But later on, Ngawang Dashi, both of us, we decided to be treated as equally like other people. So we told to Genla that no, we want to go to do those duties. And then we started selling those tofu.
You regret this?
No. I feel really enjoy it a lot. I don't know why. Because it's totally different life. I don't know. Somehow I really enjoy a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then so maybe we'll talk about the monastic education.
Yeah.
So the IBD,
Yeah.
there's a track of study, right?
Right.
Which they call, which eventually, if you follow the whole thing through, you get a rime geshi or something. What do they call it? Is that
Rime
so?
Geshe, yes.
What's the idea, I guess, of a rime geshi? What's the studies at IBD? If you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. For my case, I learned 1 year Tibetan here, and 1 year study of the Dutta summaries, and Lori Dari, Buddhist psychology and Buddhist logic, and Buddhist philosophy, Drupta Rinchen Teon, for 1 year. And for the following 6 years, I learned Pranya Paramita together with epistemology, Buddhist epistemology, Tsemanamde. Then the next 3 years, we learn Madhyamika, the middle way thinking, Uma. And then
what text are you using?
Oh.
Chandrakirti,
Chandrakirti's
Umala Jukpa.
Umala Juba, yeah. And its commentary is based on Tsongkhapa's commentary.
Okay.
Uma Gomaramse.
And so for epistemology, were you using what commentaries?
Tsemanamde, and its commentary written by Gyetsabje.
Okay, so Gelupa and Gelupa.
Yeah, Gelupa. Yeah, mainly Gelupa.
Okay.
And then after Uma 3 years, after 6 years Pranya Paramita, then we'll have
7 years total because you did a lot of reading.
exactly
Okay,
7 years total. After 7 years, we'll have a big examination because we'll be tested all the last 7 years that we learned. Like they can randomly pick any topics, ask you to debate, ask you to write. So we have a big examination. So school will allow us to learn or do the preparation for 3 months, and then after that we are going to have that examination. Afterwards, we can get, if we pass the exam, of course, some students, they didn't pass the exam. But if we pass the exam,
Yes.
then we'll get the equivalence of BA certificate. That's what we call.
Bachelor's?
Yeah, bachelor,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's according to Tibetan? Is this Lopon or not that high?
Oh no, we say Pachin Ramjamba.
Pachinla.
Pachin Ramjamba, yeah.
Okay.
The
So
well-known
perfection.
in Pachin, or
Pachin.
the well-known one in Pachin.
Yeah.
And then, the someone knows well in Pachin, not well-known one. So someone knows well in Pachin.
Which you'd hope to after 6 years of studying perfection of wisdom.
Huh?
Which you'd hope to have some familiarity
Right,
after
right.
6 years.
After 3 years UMA, then we'll get the MA certificate or MA equivalent certificate after UMA 3 years. And after 4 years training, the next 4 years training, including Zhe, Dua, Vinaya, and also we spent 6 months to different schools, monastery.
Okay, so how many years is this now? Is this 9 years? Total?
Starting from the 10th year. Oh no, starting from 11th year.
So we're up to 11th year.
Yeah, 11th.
So
From the 11th year, we have a 4-year program
Yeah.
that is really designed for Rime,
Yes.
because we have to go to another monastery like Sakyang Monastery,
Yeah.
Zongsa,
Songsa. Yeah.
and also Gajun Monastery, Sherabling,
Okay.
and Nimen Monastery, Namzheling.
Okay.
6 months.
Yeah.
And for the next 6 months, we came back to Tsenyenlopta IBD to learn Zhe
Yeah.
for the first 2 years, and then for the next 2 years, Vinaya Dua. And that's what we learned for 4 years. And after 4 years, we'll have a big examination, as before. We'll be tested all the past 4 years that we learned, and if we pass this exam, then we'll get the MPhil equivalent certificate.
Masters of Philosophy.
Yes, Master of Philosophy
In Tibetan,
equivalent.
what do you call this?
We call it Rime Lopen Chemo.
Oh, Rima Lopan Chemo.
Yeah,
So the
non-sectarian,
master.
Acharya, the great Acharya. or
Great
something.
Acharya, yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, throughout these, how many years are we now?
Oh, 15.
15 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Throughout these
14. Sorry, 14.
Throughout these 14 years.
14 years.
What does a day look like? An average day. You
We
get up what time?
right. We get up around 5:45. Then
Yeah.
we have to work up, and then we go. Do I have to mention about the brush teeth and so forth? I don't have to, right? And then we go to puja and we do the prostrations, and then we started
How
our
long is
morning
puja?
puja until 7:30.
Okay.
But if we have a sponsor to ask us to do more pujas, then probably sometime we do the puja until 9.
Yeah.
Then we'll have a breakfast in the puja.
Yes.
But for the regular puja, we'll do the puja we'll finish around 7:30, and then we go back to our home to have a breakfast in our room. And then around 9 o'clock, we'll have a class until 10:30, or sometime we'll have a class starting from 10 until 11:30. It's up to our Genla's schedule, our teacher's schedule.
What does that class look like? Is it
Oh, then
how many?
depends on the.
How many in the class and?
Oh, for my time, we had 45 students.
Wow.
That time.
And
Yeah.
one teacher.
Oh no, we had 3. Gen Lobsang Gyatso,
Yeah.
Gen Tamzhe, Gen Gyatso.
Uh-huh.
They took turn to teach us.
Yeah.
And different teachers, they have different styles to teach, or different way. The most challenging task, I think, is done by Gen Lobsang Gyatso, because Gen Lobsang Gyatso didn't want to explain word by word. He would quickly read a phrase or paragraph, and then started debating with you, ask you a question. But Gen Tamzhe is very nice. He will teach you word by word. If you don't know what the meaning of the word, he will explain to you not only 2 times, 3 times, but 1,000 times. I think he's very nice. he has that passion. I won't have that. And Yan Jiao will bring a lot of commentaries and ask us to read all of them to do the comparison. So different people have a different styles. Gen Lobsang Jiao will concentrate on one text, but he wants you to know the content well through debating. Then he will keep debating with you. Debate.
He wrote many of his own the textbooks, right? Did
Right,
you use
right.
them at that time, or they
No.
came later?
That time it came later,
Yeah.
much later, after he passed away.
Yeah.
So he will debate with you. Yeah, and the best education method in Tibetan Buddhist studies is the debating, I believe, because through debate you can really know the content well. And debate isn't really mean the debate we usually known as debate, because it has no certain or restriction rule. No, of course we say, we have a rule, we have 3 minutes to do the presentation, and for your opponents we have another 3 minutes to do the opposition, blah blah blah. But it's not the rule. I mean the rule in language itself.
Yes.
That only Tibetan Buddhist education that established that kind of system. You cannot find the debating rule is established in the language itself. Because we are so restricted in debating by saying that people can ask you very short yes or no question, and then the person sitting down will answer you yes or no answer. So we have this kind of rule, very strict. And because of this uni-language system, even a well-educated Tibetan lay person, if he sits along with 2 monks or debating, he cannot follow what they are debating for, because the language is like totally different language.
So we can say there's a specific sort of specialized debate language.
Yes, you can say
Debate
that.
formula and language.
Exactly.
That specifically helps understand these Buddhist topics, or any topic really it could be applied to.
For instance,
Yeah.
you just said to me that the specific language, right?
Yeah.
So in Tibetan debating language, we will say, take this kind of special language, period. It would be
Special language Chechen.
yes, exactly, special language Chechen. It would be something. We call it predicate.
Yeah, consider this. It will be this.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so that formula.
The
debate formula.
Yeah.
So it's ingrained, and that's that's like a fundamental part of the learning.
Right.
program.
Because without this uni-language system, you can basically say whatever you want to say, because there's no rule in playing this language, right? So if you are well spoken, you know how to use those words beautifully, then basically people might think you win. You win the game or something. But it's not true. With this uni-language system, you have to follow this rule. Then you say yes or no. There's no way you can beautify your word or expression, right? Right.
You can't escape.
You cannot escape.
the
Exactly.
logic with
Exactly.
words.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we hold them to the truth or whatever.
So we call the ones standing up, right? He's the one asking the questions or doing the challenging. So he has whole power unless he asks why. But before he asks why, he has a whole power. I mean, I can lead the whole debate topic according to my wish, because I can keep asking why. No, I can keep asking that considering X, it would be Y. Considering X, it would be Z. Considering X, it would be C or something like that. And then I can go circling around and see what is your principal view and find the contradiction among them.
Yes.
This is one strategy to do debate.
So a debate strategy is to ask question.
Yeah,
on the same
exactly.
topic, look for contradictions.
Right.
Then
But the way they ask is yes or not.
Yeah.
not really why or what or how.
You can't defend.
Right. And then you can find the contradiction. So before that, it seems whole debating is governed by the one standing up. But whenever he say why, that means he basically deliver the power to the one sitting down.
Sure.
Yeah, this is the time when those people can fight back or can get an opportunity to change the direction.
Yeah.
So inside of this debating game, there's a lot of tricks we can sneak in around, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
And you were known as quite the debater in your year, right?
I'm okay. But in
don't have to
the
be.
we have debating examination
Yes.
for the first 7 years.
Mhm.
But since 8th year, we don't have a debating examination.
Okay.
I told you that we have a big examination after 7 year, right? For the bachelor certificate.
Yes.
I obtained the highest score in debating.
So the Taiwan boy came to be the top debater, yeah?
But the score doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes depends on luck.
Yeah.
I think I was
No,
I was lucky.
No humility comes. Oh, great. So then I'm just going to go, that was awesome, hearing about debate and the importance, and it's nice to hear from you and these little tricks that are involved. And I want to go back now to the class starts at 10:30, you said? And so there was debating day every day or not?
Oh, we debate every day.
Yeah.
So after lunch, we can have a short nap, or some people that don't have short nap, they just do the preparation for the coming debate, which is starting from 1:30 to 3:30.
Oh, okay.
And then after 3:30 we'll have afternoon tea, and then we'll start another class from 4 to 5:30. And then we have a dinner, then we go to circulation, or someone will do the preparation for the coming debate, night debate. Then we'll do the night puja from 6:30 to 7. Then we'll have a debate from 7 to 9:30. That's our routine. Then no, we don't really. After 9:30, we'll keep debating if we are really active. So sometimes we'll debate until like 11:30. Because no one will say to us that, oh, you have to stop debating. No.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can keep debating.
To some conclusion.
Right.
Right.
I have heard that someone, because they keep thinking the topic,
Yes.
and they forget to they forget to open their lock.
Yeah.
They just hold the key and standing there for whole night. I don't know whether it's exaggeration or not, but yeah.
Great.
But definitely for the first time, because we were so excited, so we cannot really sleep well. Because whole night we kept thinking about those
debate.
Topics and debating topics.
Which
how can I fight back, you know?
Exactly.
How can I find a chance?
How will I find the contradiction?
Right, exactly.
So this you have, it seems to have very fond memories of these days.
Right. That's true. And I also feel that all the Buddhist doctrines that we learned before, without debate, we easily forget.
Forget it. Yeah.
If we debate that topic well, we almost never forget. Yeah.
And then you were to eventually become His Holiness's translator. How did that come about? And what age were you then? And where were you in your studies?
In 1996, a Chinese old man called Lin Genlu, we also call Jinling, he invited His Holiness to give a Buddhist teaching mainly for Chinese in Los Angeles. That time there were 3,000 people came.
Wow. What was the topic?
About Lamzo Namsum, the three principal paths. Yeah. And then that time His Holiness, because for His Holiness himself is the first time officially giving this Buddhist teaching in public. Before in China he gave initiations to Chinese people in China, but not the regular
first public talk to Chinese.
Exactly. First public Buddhist teachings or talks mainly for Chinese people. Then that time me, Ngawang Dashi, my teammate, and me, and also another Tibetan monk called Lobsang Ngawang. Three of us, we knew Chinese, and we are learning Tibetan Buddhism that time. That time, I think it's before graduating Parching Paramita. That time, I think, in 1996. Then we three were called by His Holiness to his residence, said that he got this invitation, so he needs translators.
Yeah.
So I want to test you three, and you three come with me. So we are going to do the performance like that.
A test, a public test.
And then we were kind of nervous.
I
So
bet.
every us we do the preparation. We took turn. I was the one first started the translation. So the first day, the morning session, I did translation. Afternoon, Ngawang Dashi did, and then the next day, Lobsang Ngawang did. So we took turn. And eventually, the Tibetan Lobsang Ngawang, we are in the same class.
Yeah.
And he did the best. And then after the Los Angeles Buddhist teachings, His Holiness was invited to Australia to give Kala Chakra initiation, I think.
Yeah.
And that time, His Holiness called him to do the translation. Unfortunately, a few months later, he was murdered. Have you heard our Gen Lobsang Gyaltso was murdered, right? With two students, his two students. Both students were in the same class
Wow, your
with me.
classmates.
Yeah, my classmates.
You were in Delhi at the time, is that right?
At that time, I was in Delhi. I was ready to go to Hong Kong with Gen Tamche, another Genla,
Wow.
because my parents invite Gen Tamche to visit Hong Kong.
So that's actually lucky you were away, yeah?
Yeah.
You would have been with...
Otherwise, I'll be.
You would be dead.
Yeah.
Wow.
Probably I
close
cannot
call.
talk to you right now.
Yeah. And then how did you hear about this?
Oh, because we got phone call from
Uncle.
IBD,
Wow.
and then we didn't go to Hong Kong. We returned back from Delhi to Dharamsala immediately next day.
And we should probably tell people that this is the sad event when the Shugden people killed.
Yes, 6 monks, Shudan worshippers, they came to our Genla's residence, his house, and that time 2 students were working with him for the Chinese Heart Sutra translation. Yeah, I think it's Heart Sutra or something. I don't remember the text specifically. And then they went inside and then stabbed a lot. Yeah.
So sad.
Yeah.
Okay. So then...
Sorry.
Yeah.
And
So now-
after Lobsang Ngawang was murdered, then His Holiness had a first visit in Taiwan. And that time His Holiness called me, Ngawang Dashi, my classmate Ngawang Dashi and me, go to Taiwan to do the translation. And also another Chinese monk who learned Tibetan language for a few years. I think 3 of us. But because that time we were young, like in 1997, that time, I was 19 years old. Yeah. Can I really say that? I don't know. Because compared with Ngawang Dashi, I'm a little bit younger than him, few months. 6 months younger, I think. So can I really say that among the whole leaders, translators in history, I think I'm the youngest one. Can I really say that?
Yeah.
Did anyone do the research? I don't know. Because that time I was 19.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to debate you.
Ngawang Dashi was 19, but I'm also a few months younger, 6 months younger.
So you can be the youngest ever.
I don't know. In human history, can I say that? Anyway. And then we 3 of us, we went to Taiwan. And that the Chinese monk, because he's much older, and his Chinese language...
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you go to Australia, yeah?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Lobsang Ngawang, the
Lobsang
one
Ngawang did,
murdered,
yes.
he went to Australia.
Oh,
Unfortunately. Because the best one gone,
yeah.
then I become the
Yeah.
the best one.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how I became appointed as official or principal translators. Yeah, interpreters of His Holiness. And so we 3 went to Taiwan, And the old Chinese monk learned Tibetan language for a few years. He was appointed as the main translator for the first visit. But since his Tibetan is not so good, so I have to do the translation from Chinese into Tibetan. So media people call me a small ear of His Holiness. Small ear of His Holiness. That's what Chinese, media people call me. Exactly. But because probably his Tibetan understanding is not so good. That's why his translation become really tough. Yeah. He didn't use simple languages or words to describe, to translate. That's why a lot of people had hard time to understand his translation. I think His Holiness also get kind of complaints. That's why His Holiness at the last day, the biggest ceremony, he told 3 of us that today I want to take turn. So Jamyang, you do the morning section. Afternoon, Ngawantash, you do the afternoon section. And then probably His Holiness did research and he got feedback from people. And because I don't really, that time I was young, I don't really know those kind of tough or difficult or beautiful languages in Chinese. That's why my way to translate is kind of simple and people might easily to understand. And then afterwards, I was appointed as the main or principal Tibetan Chinese interpreter of His Holiness. And then I started traveling with him whole world. I started traveling with him to Australia, New Zealand, America, Canada, Europe, and so forth.
What an amazing life.
But that time, I also had a hard time because I'm a student here.
Yes.
So whenever I come back, I have to follow, I have to catch up all the missing classes.
Do you have someone helping you catch up?
No, really.
No one
So
helps
people
you?
were surprised. People were surprised I can catch up.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah, people, yeah. I think I am kind of smart, but my problem is my memory is not so good. Because of the training, because of the working experience. When you do the translation, you have to force your brain to memorize a lot of things instantly. Yeah. But when you translate, you let them out. You let your brain empty. I think because of this working experience, my memory for short term is really good. I can memorize a lot of things within the short term, but I easily forget for the long term. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's like that.
It sounds alright. Sounds alright. So, speaking of being smart, so then you were to meet the wonderful Iwa and head off to Harvard.
Yes.
So tell us about how did you end up at Harvard doing a PhD?
I see.
Traveling the world of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, translating, then running back here to do your studies at Dharamsala, and then somehow you end up in Cambridge, Boston, with all the professors and teaching even Tibetan there and doing a PhD. So tell us a little bit about your journey there.
I disrupted in 2004. The same year I graduated, Rimé Loben Chenmo. And then His Holiness told me to work in the office, private office. So when the first section in the private office established, I was the first employee working there. The problem is that time I have to change my passport because on my passport, I had a monk photo, right? So I have to change into the lay person a photo. And then I asked His Holiness that, what should I do? If I change my passport, put the lay person's photo on it, I have to go to military training in Taiwan because it's required. Or I can go to America to apply American citizen because of that time my girlfriend, but later on become my wife. What should I do? I asked His Holiness, and His Holiness told me, you go to America. And then I moved to America in 2008, September. And His Holiness also told me that 2005. Good. September, I think, And then His Holiness told me that while you are in America, you should keep learning, especially the English you should learn. Because while I was in Tanyaloda, I didn't really learn English.
Yeah.
I travel with his Holiness a lot, so I always ask those entourage members that what his Holiness just say. I bring a single word and ask them what is the meaning of that.
Yeah.
This is the only way I learn. A few words only,
Yes.
but I didn't learn it systematically. So, in 2006, we moved to Los Angeles, and then I went to ESL program, English as learning, as English as second language learning program. And then we did, then there's assessment test, and that time my level was second, means I was from Taiwan. I am from Taiwan. You are from America, like that kind of things. The second level. That time, in 2006, right? Means I was 29, I think. Yeah, I was 29 years old that time. And then I started 2-year programs to learn English. And after 2 years, the ESL program, I finished all the ESL program, but I still have to wait for the American citizen or American passport. And then in one occasion, still, that time I was traveling with His Holiness. And I went to Italy. And I told His Holiness that in private. I told His Holiness that I just finished English learning program. But I have to wait 3 years more. What should I do? I should go to the local community college to improve my English only, or I can go to a formal university to get PhD diploma to learn relevant field that I learned in Dharamsala. Then His Holiness told me that for the long-term benefit, you do the second option. Even though that time I had kind of hesitations, because I never trained in the formal, academia or formal universities, so I had kind of fear or scare what's going on in my future and so forth.
So His Holiness is said to get a PhD, or
His Holiness told me the second option is better for the long term.
Yes.
Yeah, you do the you take the courses in the formal university to get PhD is better.
Wow.
And then Yihua
English for a second language.
Right, I just finished that.
Yeah.
And then that time Yihua helped me a lot to give me encourage me, and then to give me the confidence. And then we made appointment with and then I Google it. I type Tibetan studies. Then the first linking to our departments. That time is called Indian Sanskrit and Indian Studies, or Tibetan Himalayan Studies.
Yes.
But the official title of our department was changed into South Asian Studies in 2011 or 2011 July or something.
Yeah, probably around then.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But in July, some years, I don't know.
You could choose whether you kept which one, or you had to. Could you choose which?
I think the official title is changed since then. Yeah. So at that time, I saw the link to the Harvard, which is the current South Asian Studies department. And that time, the chairman was Professor Vanderkuyp. So I saw his email, and then we made appointment. And we set up the appointment just before I think on the Christmas Eve, right?
But let's so His Holiness says to you, best long term for you to get the PhD in America, right? At American school. So you Google basically Tibetan studies in America.
That's it.
And the first one that comes up is Harvard.
Right.
So then you decide that you will apply at Harvard.
Because I saw the deadline.
Yeah.
Is January something. So I had no time to think.
So did you understand like that Harvard is one of the most, or if not
that time I understood.
Yeah.
But cool. I have no choice because every schools or every university they have almost
the deadline is
almost the same, right?
Yeah.
So we have no time to think, to do more research.
Yeah.
So I just go whatever the first link appears and then apply.
Amazing.
And go to see Professor Vendekai
Yeah.
and ask his opinion.
Yeah.
And Professor was very interested in my background, my stories and so forth. And then he encouraged me to apply. But he told me that if I can have his own personal support later, it's great.
Yes.
And also, luckily, just few months ago, before the application, few months ago, in Malaysia, there's fake Lama pretending himself as living Buddha or living Vajratara, something like that, to give empowerment initiation. And the local in Malaysia, there are 6 major Buddhist associations.
Yes.
They basically disagree with whatever he has done. So they wanted to invite his own, but his own couldn't visit Malaysia due to the political issue and so forth. That's why they wrote me an email saying that can I come? And then I asked the private office of his own, and then his own says, okay, I can go. So I went there because the invitation was sent by the 6 major Buddhist groups.
Yes.
So with 2 newspapers, I think.
Wow.
So I have a lot of magazines, newspapers record of that. So those also help me to exactly for my application.
Wow.
I have heard that people usually do the preparation for the application for 1 year, but that time I only had 7 days. From Christmas Eve until January something. I think less than 10 days, about 7 days. So I really quickly started all of the papers and documents and materials for the applications. And then after I got the acceptance letter, a few months later, I read Chinese news, Yahoo News, saying that Harvard provides discount, the tuition discount for those low-income family. Oh, I thought that because we don't work there and we are low income, then why I don't try? Why don't I try? Then I went to the financial department with all the letters, they sent me to the financial department, asked them to give me the tuition fee discount. And the person, a man, he looked at my papers and said that, you got the scholarship already. I say, how come? I thought probably my expression was wrong or something, or my English is so broken or something.
You didn't believe him?
I didn't believe him.
Yeah.
I asked him 3 times the same question. How stupid.
You had to request 3 times.
And then I still actually, after he said this to me, I really read carefully. And then there's a parenthesis or bracket saying that paid after the number,
Yeah, paid.
But the problem, it didn't say paid by whom. It wasn't paid by me. But paid by whom? And paid. How can you pay with no one paid? No one paying. So
you're so literal, so
I didn't know who paid this, And then in the same year, July 2008, I think, his Holiness gave Buddhist teaching in Pennsylvania. So I went there. I also brought this letter to there. At that time, His Holiness English translator, Dr. Geshe Tobden Jimba, and also his representative, Dashi Wangdu, both were there. I feel shame to ask them. I don't know who paid this. I really want to ask them because it didn't say who pays this, right? And I didn't let my parents know this issue because for me, it's kind of not certain. So I asked Dr. Tobden Jimba and Dashi Wangdu that I received this letter. And I went to financial department. I asked them 3 times. They say, you don't have to worry. You got full scholarship. But I'm wondering who paid this. Do I have a problem with this or what? And they say, no problem. You're okay. You are set.
Scholarship,
Yeah, you got full scholarship already. You are set. Don't worry. And then I really feel confidence, And I told to my mother that, oh, Mom, I think I got full scholarships. And then my mom told me that, who told you this? I said, His Holiness English translator told me this. Then my mom asked me a question which makes me really laughing so badly. My mom asked me that, does His Holiness English translator speak English well? Because my mom cannot believe too. She couldn't believe too. Anyway, then I got enrollment and I came to Harvard. So basically, average, we have to read one material every day. For me, it's too tough, too hard. But what to do? Then I had to read. But I found that because of the debating training background, compared with the foreigners, for me the advantage is that I can easily find the contradiction statement among his or her work. For me, it's much easier to find. I think a lot of my classmates, they can only find the contradiction or different ideas by looking other people's works, rather than finding contradictory statement from a single work. But for me, because of the debating training program, I can easily find. And then I point and mark those points.
And you select that.
And then every day I have at least 1 point, right? So for the 1 week, I have at least 5 or 6 points that I prepared for it. Because Professor Moniz in the first day told us that if you didn't speak, then you will get C. That's for sure. Actually, one of my classmates really got C. Got a C because he's so shy to talk.
So you had to hope that someone didn't ask already your one question you had.
So for me, it's like a lottery, Why I said that? Because professor really didn't teach. I mean, the way she teaches is another way. She will ask us to read, and then in the class, she will say, in this book, this person says this. What is your opinion? What is your opinion? How does he say or how does she say this field or this
So this is quite
idea?
different from Sani Lobdra in the monastery,
Exactly.
right? So
In Sani Lobdra, teachers, they really teach you, they lead you, right? First, they help you to understand, build your own interpretation. But in Harvard, the first seminar course, my impression was that they don't lead you or help you to build your own interpretation. They just give you assignments, ask you to read. You come up your own interpretation, be ready. So his or her interpretation is nothing to do with the professors. But once you bring your own interpretation into the class, then professor might correct your interpretation whether it's wrong or not. Then Professor Moniz will give her own opinion towards this topic. And then because Harvard students are so smart, they just raise their hand and then they say a lot of things. Basically, I get no chance, really. And so I was waiting. When can I get this? When can I get those topics that I prepared? And whenever I felt that Professor Moniz brought the topic which close to my or relates to my topics that I prepared, then I will raise my hand. And professor will always call me if I do this, because normally I don't. So I always have something to say. And then, that's good.
Yeah, but then you became not so shy, right? I know Professor Vanderkite's class, you were very active. Right?
Usually I don't feel shy, really. Usually I don't. Because the biggest gathering in Taiwan was the second visit, His Holiness visit in Taiwan. That time in the stadium there were 50,000 people in front of me. So I basically spoke to the microphone.
Just look at the microphone.
And look at my phone. A lot of tiny people in front of my eyes. and all the voice is my voice.
Wow.
I can hear them back after I spoke them from my mouth. So once you pass this kind of examination, then you don't feel shy, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good experience.
Yeah.
Get you over that fear.
Yeah.
Then, any ideas about like Western academic training and monastic training? Is there anything that Western academic can learn from the monastery, or maybe the monastery can learn from Western academia? You've got a bit of a unique perspective.
A lot, really. For the Tibetan grammar learning strategy, in Tibetan traditionally we have Sumjuba, Damjuba, the two texts to learn Tibetan grammar. So there's no clear division between the idea of having adjective, having nouns, verbs, those kind of things. But in Western training program, when we go to Professor Vanderkuyp's reading class, Professor makes so clear division between those nature of words or part of speech.
Yes.
It really helps.
Yeah.
So whenever we do the English translation, after we read the Tibetan paragraphs, Professor first question is, what is the final verb?
Yeah.
Who is the agent of it?
What is the D verb referred to?
Right, exactly. So it really helps me to get deeper understanding of Tibetan reading, because before this concept or before this training, when I read a paragraph, I think I know the meaning of it roughly, but I never think about this verb is done by whom.
Yes.
So precisely. I never had this kind of thought.
Yeah.
But after the Tibetan reading training in Harvard, I think this strategy is very helpful to teach Tibetan. Yeah. So I want to bring this idea back to Tibetan society. But
so actually, your time in Professor Vanderkuyp's class, and how he stops everyone and gets them to break down the grammar, the particles, and also the elements of the sentence, actually helped you understand better the text
more
that you
clear.
Already would read intuitively and know.
Right. You can almost you can say that really. Before, for instance, I never had a training how to read the pendings, right?
Yeah.
If I see pending, what I saw is flat.
Yeah.
I don't see the things pops out.
Yes.
But with this training, I feel that those elements jump out, like individually, so that I can see more clear. Yeah, I feel that way. Even though the meaning is still the same, but the problem is those elements so clear in front of you.
So then when you taught Tibetan at Harvard, I should remember, did you use this style?
Yeah. That's why in my intermediate colloquial class, I said that who is the agent of it? What is the patient of it?
So you got
what is the verb?
That.
Exactly. I got
so
this
if
idea.
you hadn't have been there, you wouldn't have taught Tibetan like that.
Oh yeah, I won't.
You would have got out the standard
Sumjuba and Dajuba. Yeah, exactly.
And
I'll go with
style.
that way. Yeah. We'll go with the Sandhi rules.
Yes.
Yeah. After this suffix, we should put these particles and so forth. Yeah, I think this is very helpful in terms of learning Tibetan or Tibetan learning strategy. The first one. And then second one is Harvard gives you a lot of assignments. So basically I always fight with my time. I kept watching on my watch, the wristwatch. So I really feel so happy if I have more additional hour to do my assignment. The level of happiness is like, do you remember I told you that we often go to sell the tofu, right?
Yes.
And peanut butter, right? The reason why we love to sell those tofu is that if all the tofu sold out, then you have almost half day vacation. You have half day holiday.
If you're a
We
good
can-
seller.
Right, you said it earlier, right? Exactly. Then we can go to river and then swim there.
Yeah.
That's why we were so happy. The level almost like the same, because still I have 1 hour to finish the next project's assignments.
Yeah.
So Harvard gives you a lot of assignments. So it gives you pressure and pressure and pressure. So keep you so busy working on this. Also raise my high blood pressure as well. Usually I'm kind of happy person, but I don't know, somehow my blood pressure went up like 180 or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Tough time, yeah.
yeah.
But you were very successful, and you wrote an amazing thesis. And so, why don't you tell us, or dissertation, I should say? Why don't you tell us why don't you tell us about your topic? What was the title? What were you investigating?
My thesis, my dissertation, is based on the material. It's called Tibet Record, Medieval Tibetan Tibet Record. I think, as far as I know, that this is the only currently known as the medieval Tibetan debating record in the Tibetan literature.
Is this the oldest debate record?
Yeah, we could say that, because we so far I've found, and also Professor Venekaj, he didn't find older than this material. So Zuik, this term, is used in 3 different genres.
So
One is called
translate for
Zuik. This term, Zui means debating, Ik means documents.
Yeah.
So debating documents, let's say. But my work, I call it debate record, not debating documents, because the term Zuik can be used in 3 different genres. One is called summaries, 对照. And the other one is called decisive analysis. 他句 means all the Tibetan masters and Nalanda masters, if we read their writings, their writing basically established on 3 main principal elements. One is negating other standpoint or thinking, the first one, and then the second one is establishing your own opinion. Then the third one is that negating other disputation towards one's own opinion. So gakshabong, based on these 3 principal elements. So Tibetan masters follows their rule to write tajue, decisive analysis. They will bring hypothetical figures and say their statements, and then they have their own idea to say something against their own opinions. Yes. But the debate record should not have any hypothetical figure or statements. Should be the record of 2 masters debating. Should be recorded by their disciples.
Yes, it's an actual event.
Actual event.
So what was recorded, do you believe was an actual event or not?
I don't know, really. That we need another research. Yes. But in the colophon, it says that this debate record is documented by both parties' disciples.
Wow.
Clearly. And it happened in the Sakya.
So it happened in Sakya Gompa, Sakya Monastery in
Sakya
Tibet.
Monastery.
And who were the 2 people?
One is called Thopa Tuje Bel.
Yeah.
Thopa Tuje Bel, in the colophon and in the text, it clearly says that he was the disciple of Nyalungunga Bel.
Okay.
The very famous Jonang master.
Yes. So this
he was the master of Dzongpa.
So one side was Jonang.
One side is Jonang, Nyalungunga Bel's disciple.
Yeah.
Thopa Tuje Bel. Even though in my dissertation I said that I looked up lot of Jonang religious histories or archives to find his identity, but I couldn't. But at the end, I found in the 14th C of Jonang Monastery's biography written by 20th C of Jonang Master, I found he was the Thopa Tuje Bel. So he was the master of 14th C of Jonang.
Okay, so he was the master of the 14th head.
Yeah, of Jonang.
The throne holder of the Jonang.
Exactly.
He was.
That's the only evidence.
He was a high profile Jonang teacher
Exactly.
in the 14th century?
13th century.
13th century.
Oh, no, sorry, 14th century.
14th century.
I would say 14th century.
14th century.
Because
So Sakya Monastery, we've got one Jonang person there. It's 14th century.
right.
Who's he debating?
The other one is called Rombo.
Rombo.
Shakya Rinchen.
Shakya Gyatsen.
Yeah, he's kind of well-known Sakya master.
Okay.
Yeah, they both
So we have
debated.
Jonang versus Sakya.
Right.
At Sakya Monastery.
Right, and I think this debating should be this debating should be taken place somewhere around 1388 to 1393.
Okay.
The first visit in Zhang by Rongdun Shakya Rinchen. So he went to Zhang 3 times in his life.
Yeah.
That can be clearly seen in his biography. Monastic was written by Shakya Chodyan. So the first visit in Zhang, of course, David Jason in his work says another different opinion, but I think should be somewhere around 1388 to 1393. But for more detailed things, we can look at my dissertation. I don't want to explain. I should keep it secret.
Or your future book.
Exactly, as a selling point. Just kidding.
So
Anyway.
So then now we're in Sakya Monastery,
Yeah.
late 1300s.
Yeah.
We've got a Jonangpa master, highly regarded.
Right.
We've got a highly regarded Sakya master.
Right.
And they're debating
Yeah.
about what?
About Buddhahood exists or presents in the sentient beings or not.
So Buddha nature and whether Buddha nature.
They didn't use the nature. They say Sangye, the
Sangye.
Buddhahood.
So the Buddhahood, whether it's present in
The ordinary beings.
now or not.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm assuming the Jonangpa thinks it is.
Yes,
And
exactly.
The Sakyapa thinks
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah, good guess. Yes.
Who starts the argument?
Who started the
Who is
argument?
standing up and who is sitting?
I see. That I don't know. I didn't see this in the record. But first, Robert Tuja Bell made his own initial statement, and then later on says that Sangye or Buddhahood must exist in the ordinary sentient beings, because the Dharmagarya Chögu, I call it absolute embodiment, exists in the Buddha, is the same one that exists in the ordinary people.
Okay, so the Dharmakaya of the Buddha, you as a future Buddha.
No, he didn't say future,
Okay,
but
the Dharmakaya of the Buddha
yeah,
is the same as the Dharmakaya
Right.
in the person.
it's more than the same. It's one.
It's one.
So basically,
Roger.
he will say that the Buddhahood presents in the ordinary people, and Dharmagaya exists in the Buddha, is one.
Means one.
You can say R1 or I don't know.
Well, it depends.
the both
so is he
is
talking?
one,
It's like, so is the Dharmakaya of the Buddha, and my Dharmakaya he's saying I have now, and your Dharmakaya he's saying you have now. Are they all one?
No, he didn't say we have Dharmakaya.
Okay.
He said
Sangye.
Sangye.
So
Yeah.
my Sangye, your Sangye,
Right.
Buddha's Dharmakaya,
Right.
are they all one?
Yeah. He said that very clearly.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, Rongdun Shakya Gyatsen provide 3 arguments, reply against his initial statement, saying that then if we have Buddha already in our mind, there will be a Buddha in the circular
Samsara.
existence, samsara.
So that
So
means,
this Buddha will be suffered.
yeah. So now we have a Buddha that suffers.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Is his argument.
So I think Lapa Tujebe also brought up a very beautiful point that he said that it's like impoverished man living on the top of burial treasures,
Yeah.
which is under his property, but he didn't know.
It's like in Uttara Tantra, yeah.
Right. But he just Uttara Tantra says that the same thing. And then he just didn't know there's underneath there's buried treasures. So we didn't know we have a Buddhahood inside of our heart. That's why we are ordinary people, not Buddha. But once we discover,
Jonampa.
Yeah. Once we have Buddhahood in our mind, then we become Buddha.
Yeah.
It's like the imperfect, if he discovered the burial treasure, he'll become rich.
So we have Sangye. What makes us an ordinary being is we don't know it.
Exactly, that's what his
and
point.
What makes us, this is interesting, so you're using the Sangye already, but what we can say, what makes us a Buddha is that we know we have Sangye.
Yeah.
But that's a bit repetitive because Sangye is Buddha.
Right. So the Rongdun Shakya Gyenten says that the nature we have should be the cause of the Sangye.
Yeah.
So
is he using the word nature now? Like, is he using the word Buddha nature, or is it just Rangshin? What's the word he's using when you say nature?
For
Sakya.
Rodun Shakya Gyenten, he said Deshe Shebe Nimbo.
Okay.
I call it the core of Deshe, or Sanskrit says Sugata Garbha, right?
Sugata
Sugata Garbha should be the cause of the Sangye.
Cause of the Sangye.
And Sangye should be the Sugata Garbha's effect.
Yeah.
So if effect can exist in the causal period, then the excrements, which is the effect of the food or meals, can also exist in the food period or meals period.
Yeah.
Then while you are having meals, that means you are having shit. You are having excrements.
Yeah. If you equate the cause with the result,
right?
It's like eating excrement.
Exactly, that's what his point of view. So that they have their own debating. So, but the remarkable point after I did this research of this particular document is that the language remains the same for the last few hundred years, even today.
Wait a minute. What language?
Debating language.
Oh, the debating
that
language.
I said the union language.
Yeah. So, that unique debating language that is being used today at Senilobja, you found in this late 1300 manuscript.
Late 14th century.
Late 14th. Yeah, so 1358.
1300 is right. Sorry, 14th century. Yeah, exactly.
So, how interesting.
And also Professor Vanderkuyp, when he got these materials, he told me the smells also had that kind of medieval smells. You know what I mean?
Where did Professor Vanderkuyp get?
I think in China.
Did he get it from in China?
Yeah,
or
in
from
China.
Sakya, or
no,
from?
He got it from China, and he got a copy of it.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and he was looking for someone who has a debating background to work on this document. He said that he has waited for 20 or 30 years. Wow. Yeah, but none of his students have that debating background, and then he told me to read.
So did the Jonangpa have a response to the Sakyapa about distinguishing?
Well, this is selling point. I'm not going to sell it. You better look at dissertation. But the good thing is that in my dissertation, especially the Appendix 3, I think this is very important because a lot of Western scholars, they wrote Tibetan Buddhist debate. For instance, George Dreyfus, What is Debate For? And F. Josmas, Zeba, they both wrote how the oral debate operate. And also Daniel Perdue, Debate in Tibetan Buddhism. Also Michael Lambert's Discipline and Debate. They also, in their work, we can find the verbal debating conversation inside. But it's kind of disorganized because they're just randomly pick and record their conversation. Unfortunately, the comprehensive elements, debating elements or oral debating elements, are not included in their work. But in my Appendix 3, I could say that it's kind of comprehensive manual, includes every elements. For instance, in the debating strategy, as I mentioned before, you can find, you can ask yes or no question to find what is your principal idea, right? And look around and look at your back, look at your left hand side, look at your right hand side. This is one strategy and find the contradiction. The other one is kind of straight, point out your contradiction. It's like a knife, just cutting the cake, a very sharp one. The third one is using the citation. But after you use the citation, you say, oh, X is Y. I say, no, X is not Y, because this text says X is not Y. When I say this, in Tibetan we say, X, Y, my in Tibetan, if we say this, then the opponent will answer makyap, no pervasion. But in English, no pervasion doesn't really mean anything that time. If you took literally, what does it mean? What was no pervasion? Because you just use citation, right? But that time, the phrase no pervasion has particular meaning, means that I have another interpretation. This kind of explanation I didn't find in modern scholars' work. So that's why I said that they don't have complete, the oral verbal debating elements.
So this you feel is part of your contribution?
Yes, I think for the Appendix 3, yes. And also I lay out all the debating, oral debating, the unique language. If you basically memorize them, then you come to the debating court and listen those monks debating. If they are not in the high class, I think probably you will understand quite well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your Appendix 3, if we
You memorize them.
that, you can go to a
It's
Zen monastery,
Right.
and you'll get a good you'll get to follow the debate.
Right, if you know the terms.
If you know the terms.
Yeah, of course, if you don't know the terms, then you don't know the language, right? But this Appendix 3 gives you the structure of the debating language.
Yeah.
Basically, you have the structure. So you need those terms, technical terms, to fill up in. That's it. If you know the terms, then you have no problem. You can follow.
Well, when this book is ready, we'll have to get you back on, and we can talk more about the. We can get your Tibetan and go through it with everyone. Have their books there, and you can take them through it, a little Tibetan debate course. That would be wonderful. But we don't want to give too much away. We got some selling points, so we might finish there. And thank you so much, Jamyang,
no problem.
for your time.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you.
So that was part 1 of our 2-part Jamyang Rinchen interview. Next episode, Jamyang will take us behind the scenes for an inside look at what it's like to travel in the Dalai Lama's entourage, what it's like to be around His Holiness off stage. So make sure you subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcasting app of choice. And if you want to support the Wisdom Podcast, the best way is to tell your friends, or give us a rating or review, and just tell everyone. Thank you for listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks again with Jamyang.